There's a difference between being alone and being a loner. Being alone is a moment, a temporary state. You're alone when you walk home, eat lunch, sit in silence. But a loner? That's a disposition, a rhythm, a way of moving through the world that doesn't rely on constant connection to feel real. A loner doesn't fear the silence. They inhabit it. They don't need the crowd to affirm who they are. They already know. But let's be honest. Society doesn't quite know what to do with the loner. We romanticize them in books and movies. The mysterious figure in the corner, the genius in isolation, the soulful outsider who walks alone. But in real life, we often misunderstand them. We project our own discomfort onto their quiet. We assume sadness where there is solitude. We see absence where there might be peace. But the truth is more layered than that. A loner is not necessarily shy or depressed or broken. Some are, of course, just like any group. But that's not what defines them. What defines a loner is self-sufficiency of presence. They don't outsource their identity to the group. They're not driven by FOMO, not seduced by validation, not chasing likes, invites, or applause. They may enjoy people, many do, but they don't need them like oxygen. The loner is a person who feels most themselves when they're not being watched, who feels most alive when they're in their own head or their own space or their own rhythm. They're the ones who leave early, who walk the long way home, who know how to spend entire weekends without speaking a word aloud and still feel full. They're not antisocial, they're selectively social, and that difference is everything. From a psychological lens, some people are simply more neurologically sensitive to stimulation. Their nervous systems are more reactive, meaning too much input, noise, or chaos can overwhelm rather than energize them. Many loners are highly sensitive people, introverts, or individuals with rich internal worlds. They don't process life externally through constant conversation. They process it internally through reflection, stillness, and space. They may have grown up in environments where solitude was survival, where trust had to be earned slowly, or where connection came with strings attached. Over time, being alone became not a curse, but a refuge. Others may simply have a deep sense of inner life. They don't need the echo of other voices to find their own. They've cultivated an emotional independence that many admire, but few understand. The loner archetype is a paradox. They are both free and burdened by their solitude. On the one hand, loners are incredibly resilient. They're not swayed by the crowd. They have time to think, reflect, observe. Many are gifted creators, thinkers, healers, and artists, precisely because they don't dilute themselves through constant interaction. They are often more emotionally attuned than they appear, more empathic, more perceptive, because their silence isn't empty. It's observant. But there's also a cost. Loners can become too self-reliant. They may struggle to reach out when they're in pain. They may avoid intimacy, not because they don't want it, but because vulnerability feels like losing control. They may be misread, dismissed as aloof, cold, standoffish, when in truth, they're often just protective of their inner world. They don't show their heart to everyone, only to those who have earned the quiet privilege of being let in. Every strength casts a shadow, and for the loner, that shadow can be isolation. What begins as preference can become pattern. What feels like protection can turn into a prison. When solitude becomes avoidance, when connection feels too risky, when vulnerability becomes impossible, that's when the loner can lose their balance. Loners can get used to silence, even when they're lonely. They can hide in their heads. They can forget how to ask for help. And in doing so, they may become emotionally malnourished, starving for connection they've convinced themselves they don't need. The world becomes distant. People feel like threats, and life starts to feel like something observed, not lived. But let's not pathologize solitude. In a world that's constantly performing, constantly broadcasting, constantly craving attention, the loner is a sacred archetype. They remind us that presence is not performance, that you can be whole without being loud. That real power often lives in the quiet. Loners teach us to think deeply, feel privately, create without applause. Heal in stillness. And trust the voice inside. They are the mirror the world avoids, because their refusal to conform reveals how much of society is built on noise and distraction. And when a loner does choose to connect, it's intentional. It's rare. It's real. The loner walks through life a few steps apart, not out of superiority, not out of fear, but out of instinct. They know that solitude is not the absence of love. It's the space where love is chosen, not chased. So if you're a loner, embrace it. You are not broken. You are not less. You are not lost. You are the stillness in a world that forgot how to be quiet. You are the moonlight when everything else is neon. You are the one who knows how to sit with your soul. And that in itself is rare. Just remember, even the moon needs the earth to orbit. Even the quietest heart deserves to be heard. And even the loner, in their own time, can let someone in. Not to complete them, but to share the silence with someone who finally understands.